Deep, dee, dee, dee. Hi everybody, how's it going? So let's see. Are we live? Looks like it. Welcome to today's stream. Yes, it's starting on LinkedIn as well. Hi. Welcome. New stream from the new location, from the new office. Let's see how this works here. Let's see if the internet connection is stable. I thought I'm going to jump on and talk a bit about stuff about job application, hiring, recruiting, and so on and so on. All right. I can see people are coming in. Hi, Ankit. Hey, Leila. Hello. Okay. Mamitana. Hey, Vivek. Hi. Cool. Yeah, the last few weeks was quite empty on my LinkedIn timeline, right? There wasn't a lot of stuff out there because I was busy. By sheer luck, I found a new office. As you might know, I've been working from a home office for a long time, and I have an office and I have a recording studio now. All right, people coming in. Piyush, hi. Hello on LinkedIn. No, Piyush is on YouTube. Hey, Piyush. Yashas, Mudas, another Ankit. Hey. No, it's Ankit again. Manas, hello. Let me know your questions regarding job applications, regarding recruiting, and so on. Put them in the chat. We're going to talk about it. So here's the new background. This is going to be, most likely I'm going to put a few other things on that shelf here, but maybe something here in the background. But that is the new studio. There's actually 2 rooms. This is going to be the studio, and the other room is going to be the office. And that was for the last weeks. That was why my stream wasn't on, and that was why I didn't post much on LinkedIn, because I was building everything out here, building the office. I'm still going to set up another desk in the other office, and then I'm going to do a small room tour for you. I'm going to put that on YouTube, so you know how it looks here right now. It's really becoming a company, and it's really cool working from here and not only from the home office. It has some really, really big upsides. Yeah, so and you're learning stuff. We're also going to talk about that because I actually posted it. It's online, but I haven't posted about it. I created a new course for my students. I created one successful job application for the whole process. Okay, now they're learning, and for me, the big goal for the future is to also get them a job or help them get a job. I'm working on the recruiting stuff, working on trying to find companies that need engineers that went through my academy. We know that they have a certain amount of knowledge, and having a good understanding the process of job application, having a CV template, having a template for documenting your personal projects and so on. I think that is some really, really big thing. Thanks. Yeah, nice office. I'm super happy about that. Let's dive in the questions already. Already some good. Raul asks, how does a fresher get in data engineering? So the best way, there are a few ways to get into data engineering, right? As a complete fresher, what I recommend is, first of all, if you apply to jobs, apply to junior roles. That is one of the most important things, that you don't apply to professional roles, because this will most likely not work. People are searching for professionals in that case. But also, the one thing that might help is an internship for you. So that's stuff like that I have in my new course for the academy students. The most important thing as a fresher is that you have something that you can show. If you haven't done an internship, you need some kind of a proof of work. And for that, I highly recommend doing projects, documenting. If you do courses like on my side, that you document them and basically then show them to employers. What are the current trends in big data engineering, like data mesh, and how much the engineering will get affected by ChatGPT? I mean, data mesh, I'm not the super big data mesh guy. So for me, let me quickly check. Is my camera in line here? Strange. I'm not big. I think on other live streams we talked about that. I'm not super into the data mesh thing. I think it's completely normal that you're going to have different data sources and these need to interact with each other, and you have processing, and that processing is going to then take care of these data sources and process data. I mean, I'm not a big data mesh guy. So ChatGPT, I know there's so much hype right now about ChatGPT, and it's getting to the point where it's super annoying. I use ChatGPT a lot. Like the ideas for this stream, for the title of the stream, I was asking ChatGPT. But for really data integration work, data transformation work, and so on, complex work where you need to do, let's say, where you need to do conceptual things, I don't see ChatGPT here. It's What's the best path for an Oracle database administrator? Get into coding first. Get into coding and then build some pipelines where you use Python, for instance, where you use Oracle database. Get on a cloud platform, like the stuff that I do in my academy. Look at that. Like look at the example project from AWS, stuff like that. Basically add stuff to it that you already know. And if you already know relational database, Oracle database, it's a good foundation, very good foundation. But learn coding first. What's the best way to learn data engineering? By doing projects and learning, or doing courses and implementing the learning? So for me, the thing is how I build my courses and my philosophy around the stuff that I teach is that it's going to get you basically into a topic very quickly. It's going to get you hands-on work. You're already doing a small project that you can document, that you can show for future employers. What you can do then is you can go on and do more. You can say, okay, now I've done this project from Andreas' course. I know how to use Snowflake right now. Because of that course, I have the first hands-on experience. Let's try something else. Let's use a different data source. Let's build a pipeline around it. That's what you should do. That's how I would get into it. And it's a really good formula. But the main thing is you need to document what you're doing, especially if you're new. What would be the starting position for entry-level data engineers, and what skills would they require? So it's this, like I mentioned before, what skills would a starting position, so a junior position, something where you come in, let's say a larger company, and where you are expected to get trained in this company on this position, where you're fresh. Python, you need relational database experience, so that you can query data out of it and write data into it. And then it's always a bit difficult depending on the company, then the cloud. I think a first cloud experience is really, really helpful on any platform. We're right now developing a GCP course for my academy. We have an Azure course for the academy where you can start. We have two larger AWS courses. Like, what if you start with one of these, then Python, relational databases, then start with one course on a cloud. It's for a junior, it's a super, you don't need to be an expert, but it's a big bonus if you apply for a junior role and you have also cloud knowledge a bit. And it doesn't cost you a lot. It's not super expensive. And I mean, that's what I highly recommend. I see some people saying there's no such thing as entry-level data engineer jobs, and to get a data analyst job first, then process from there. I mean, there are data engineer, entry-level data engineer jobs. Sometimes they are not called data engineer. Sometimes they're called junior cloud engineer, junior AWS engineer, junior something. Or they're even called data engineer, and you can, if you look at the level, it's going to say that it's a junior level. But for that, most likely look at look at bigger companies, because they can afford to hire data engineers. So, but of course, I mean, both ways are good. That you start from engineering, from the database side, like who said that before? Like Abdul said, start as the database developer and then go the other way, or go add more stuff to it. Or if you start as an analyst and then add the engineering part to it. Works both. It's both good. The only thing is, though, because usually analysts don't do that much of software development, of coding, it's a bit more difficult to get into the engineering part, because the engineering part is a bit more software development heavy. Right? So think about that. I wonder which is suitable for me, Python or Scala for Spark. I'm good in Python, but I have some little knowledge of Scala. Then use Python. Use Python. Look into Python with Spark. I've worked with both. I really don't like Scala. I think Scala is just a thing that people only use Scala for Spark and then for nothing else. So, so yeah. I'm already into ETL, big data. How can I switch into open source? 8 years of experience from jobs in India, remote. Switch into open source with 8 years experience. And from India, remote. So for you're right. So ETL developer, big data, depends on the systems that you're working on, right? It's always a bit difficult. What systems are you working on? What is used right now? But generally, that shouldn't be too hard. What I would try to do, remote jobs is always difficult. It's always remote, like from India remote. I think that is difficult. So for you, the first step should be to try to. I think there is a, from ETL developer to data engineer, there is a step in pay as well. So first, I would try for you, Vivek, I would try to make that switch into the data engineer role. Search companies in India that need data engineers and then do that switch. Because you can, like with ETL development and some, I don't know what exactly, again, big data experience that is, you can make, you most likely can already get a professional data engineer job. So how can we build your portfolio from data engineer job role? Well, you do projects, you work with tools that people need. And that is the only thing that you need to do. You need to go out there, you need to use either open source tools, or you need to go on one cloud, and you need to play around, build pipelines, do smaller projects, and document them all into GitHub repos, and then add these repos and add these projects to your CV, especially if you're completely fresh. Right. What is the difference between domain knowledge and data scientist? The person who is expert in any domain, they're already data scientist? I'm confused. Well, data scientist, I'm not the person, I'm not a data scientist, right? But I have worked with data scientists, and you have to think of it like this. The data scientist is the person that is going to do the analytics, is going to very often use machine learning to get some results, right? And domain knowledge is the data that the scientist, or also the engineer, is working with is of some kind of a domain. For instance, banking or social media data or e-commerce data, right? And the domain expert basically is somebody who can understand that data, has experience working with that data. So a data scientist is a domain expert as well, if you understand or if you know the data that you're working with. And that's the same thing for an engineer. Those are two different things. The scientist is the role, and like the domain expert is the expertise. It's basically the expertise, how good you understand the data. So it's not a one or the other. It's like that. Thanks. Lovely office, thanks. I'm super happy about it, by the way. There are some data engineering topics that might come up during an interview: data modeling, pipeline design, and tips on demonstrating knowledge on this. So yeah, most likely stuff like that will come. The problem is it's very difficult to train this, because what people most likely are going to ask you is specific to the job and to the tools that you're going to work with. So you need to prepare towards that. You need to and do some research, right? If you apply to a job, try to find out from the job description what tools are they working with, and then most likely there will be, or also some data, and then most likely you will get to a point where then you can try to think of, okay, these pipelines are going to be built, these questions about the data modeling, most likely they're going to ask, and about these tools. It's very difficult, because as I said, this is very specific to the job. Standard stuff they're going to ask you. They're most likely going to ask you these behavioral questions, which is the most important thing, and also behavioral questions towards the data engineering topic. And that you can prepare. You can try to think of instances where you have reacted, where you had problems before, where you were successful before, and so on. So the individual questions, always very difficult. Very difficult. Just in the upside, if you have done some personal projects, is that you then can go and you can try to match the question to what you have done in the personal projects, and then talk about it and basically connect these two things, which is a big upside. Can you review my data engineering project? Send me a message on LinkedIn. Oh man, the questions are coming in. So before I answer more questions. So why am I talking about this? The thing is, what I created a new course for my academy. So for me, the long-term goal is the recruiting part, helping my students get jobs, and of course the education part, right? So for my academy, for a longer time, I have a lot of courses here that you can learn from the basics here, like Python, Python introduction, Python for data engineers, Docker stuff, and now the successful job application course, the new one, but also platform design and tools like Airflow, Spark, Kafka, and then once you are getting a bit into that, you can go and you can, for instance, build here a larger pipeline. You understand and you get into AWS or Azure or modern data warehousing and stuff. But for me, the one thing is that my students often, or until now, it ended there, which I didn't like, right? So they went through all the learnings, and it's right now it's over 40 hours, 45, 42 hours of videos here and exercise and stuff. But then they basically were at the end. Now, the new successful job application course, by the way, you can find this learndataengineering.com and then go to the academy and then all courses here. And the idea with that basically was for me to, give you an introduction. So what are the career paths that you can take? And we've been talking about this a few minutes ago. Company types, how to stand out in social media, because that is, social media is a big part, and also LinkedIn is a big part. So you need LinkedIn nowadays. That means if you're on YouTube right now and not on LinkedIn and see me on YouTube, I don't know, is somebody here on, there are also 2 people on Twitch guys. So I hope you have a LinkedIn, because that is super important nowadays. Companies are going to search your profile on LinkedIn. So I made a video here about this, how to document your work, what we were talking about, project portfolio. I have a GitHub template, how to create the documentation for your work. And then I have stuff like, you want to do your own project. Here are some data sets that you can use that I like. About CV, creating a resume, a bit about cover letter, and so on. CV template that I like. And also I give you that template, as well as the job market explained, because there are 2 job markets. There's the open and hidden job market. Open one is where you can search, and the hidden one is where, like, internal job markets or from recruiters and so on. And then a few videos on the actual process of the interview, right? How to prepare for it, how to do the phone/Zoom meetings, how to set up the camera and so on. Questions that you might be asked, technical questions, technical stuff for the interview, and also salary negotiation. So, and there's some thing about freelancing that's coming soon. So that kind of stuff, that is, for me, that is very important to teach my students also, how can you apply to jobs? How does the process work? What do you need to look at? What do you need to keep in mind for the documentation? How can you set up the documentation? How can you show yourself, show your best side, right? Because, like somebody said, it's super difficult right now to become a data engineer, to get a data engineer job. Yeah, and as well, again, that's, for me, that's the thing. So, and if you watch this right now and you need a data engineer, get in touch. I have over 1,000 students that I can contact, not just beginners, also professionals in there. Yeah, write me at hello@learndataengineering.com. Let me see, I don't want to. What are some good portfolio projects for data engineering, and what is the current job market for data engineers in Germany? Because I think you have masters in Germany. I mean, projects, very often what you do, there are two types of projects that you can do. One is that you work with a single tool, right? That you, for instance, get into Airflow and work with Airflow or work with Spark and do some processing with Spark. Also, the good types of projects or good, no, how was the question exactly phrased here? Good type of portfolio projects are the end-to-end projects where you set up a multi-stage pipeline, multiple steps, and then have that for as your portfolio for showing potential employers what you can do. So that's definitely what you should do. Now I went through the questions in reverse. I'm not fast enough. Already working on premises, cloud like HDFS. How can I improve my career next level? Hike, and that would be the scope of Snowflake Future. I think you're already pointing towards you know what you're talking about, right, Chilson? So you already know the path that you should go. Now you're on HDFS. Now you're local. Get into the cloud. Use the from the clouds. Use the free credits, and learn the clouds. Learn one of the clouds. One of them. That, I think for you, that's the way. Do you have any scholarships up for grabs? No, right now I don't do free access to the academy. Maybe we run get on my mailing list. So when you go to my website here, why is this switching here, by the way? All the time, it's annoying here on my side. So go to here, and just here on the top right, there's a newsletter button. Click that newsletter and go on that newsletter. And that will basically, you will get then the information if we do something, if we give a few free members away, free access away. To build a portfolio of medium to advanced data engineering projects, what would you suggest? It's always so. There are always two ways to do this: go broader or go bigger pipeline, more complex pipeline, or go very deep into one tool and get very, very good. For instance, we were talking about Spark before, or Snowflake or stuff, like, or do a lot of projects in that one tool and get very good at that. Both ways work. For me, more fun is always to try to build pipelines, to try to send data through it, try to have something end to end. That is the big thing that I like. So, but if you want to become very, very good at one topic, and that can be a big plus for companies, yeah, that's an option that you can take. What's the difference between your program and something like Udacity Data Camp? So for me, what I do, I can tell you what I do. For me, is I'm always about holistic learning, right? I'm not into single courses or just one thing that you can learn let's say single courses. How I did it in the academy is that I have, when you get in, you've seen all the content that is in there. You have multiple tracks that you can take, and you can basically become good and in a few tools. You can create pipelines. You can learn this end to end on multiple platforms or multiple tools. That is the big thing with that I pride myself in the academy. That is my main focus, and also my main focus is, as I said, showing you how to get a job, and in the future helping you get a job, trying to get you, right? It's very difficult, I'll be honest. And also stuff in my academy, there is new stuff all the time. So we're usually creating one new course every month, and students of the academy automatically get that new stuff. That's my main thing is people need constant learning. People want to have the new stuff as well. And so that's what we do. We're also, now that the office here is finished, we're also going to start doing regular office hours again. That's, for me, that's important to stay in touch with the students. The students get feedback from me. And for the last 3-4 weeks, we didn't do it because I was busy here with the whole office thing. Yeah. How will artificial intelligence projects such as ChatGPT affect field of data engineering? Maybe you weren't here when I said it. It's like I'm not the big ChatGPT fan. It's really, really good for certain stuff, for asking it questions, for maybe some simple code parts, but for doing complicated engineering, complicated data modeling, working with, and we've been talking about domain knowledge, working with different data domains, that it's not there, and it will not be able to do it. It's always the complex stuff that data engineers do. So I'm not afraid of ChatGPT. Thanks, Corey. Andrew, currently studying my final year in computer science engineering and thinking of masters in Germany. Job market in Germany. I need to check that more. I know there are companies that are searching engineers, but fresh engineers, I don't know, might be difficult. Because the general need for, or the general amount of data engineering projects, companies that are doing data science, that are using engineers, is smaller, and you can't compare this with the US. We're always slower here in the EU, so might be difficult. After 10 years of data engineering experience, what should be way forward? Learn data architecture, modeling, solution design. That is, Raul, that is a question. So for me, there are two paths that you can take: towards leadership, becoming the mentor for other engineers, right? Taking more responsibility, team lead, and so on. That's one path. Or you mentioned here becoming an architect, solution design. That can also be very fulfilling. I'm thinking of like consulting companies that have all the time new customers. They need to come up with new solutions and so on. It could be something where you have to do architecture, you have to do modeling, platform design in general. That can be really, really the next step also. But yeah, so leadership or this kind of stuff. How to do open source if a person has data engineering skills? I'm not sure. I'm a data analyst. What would be the best path to switch to data engineering? I actually was talking with somebody that wanted to join the academy about this earlier, not today, but last week. And for me, the thing that I recommend in this as an analyst, I would start with stuff that doesn't include that much coding. So I would try to look into, for instance, here, I would look into Databricks. Oops, no, you don't see it. I would look into Databricks. I would look into Snowflake. These things are, I would start with that. Or what I did here with the modern data warehouses and data lakes, where you're using, for instance, GCP file storage. Now it's called cloud storage, BigQuery, and Looker Studio. Like these kind of stuff, because you're coming from the analyst side, you might want to work with or already have some experience with data warehousing. So it makes sense to get into these topics and start with these first. And then gradually you add coding to it. You add some, maybe you want to, when you're on Databricks, you want to add Spark together. And that's the path I would take for if I would come from an analyst role. Try to leverage what you already know. Yeah, I think that's could do my Python for data engineers. The AWS thing that has coding. So the best way I think would be to start with something like either like that, where you work with data lakes, or first start with the Snowflake stuff. I think that's something how you can easily start and then continue the whole thing. I think that's a good choice. Without graduate degree, will companies accept job having good skills? Pradeep is only, I think only if you have a lot experience. So basically the question is, will companies, as I understand it, will companies hire me if I don't have a degree, but I have good skills. I'm a very practical guy. I have experience doing data engineering. Then only with a lot of experience, I think. That's the main thing. If you have no experience or a bit of experience and you're not a graduate, super difficult. Super difficult. I'm new to Portal. As I have 13 years of experience as a data engineer, looking for jobs in the States immediately. Also, good question. Maybe I can tell you more about that once I get further with the whole recruiting topic and trying to find companies that hire engineers and talk to more. For now, I talked with a few companies in Europe, and for them, the goal was always that you actually need to be in the country. You need to have, like, they don't do full remote. They do 2 days office or so, 2-3 days office, and then the rest remote work. So if you're not in the US, Ankush, then that's problematic. Highly recommend the academy, by the way. Thanks, Santiago. Working as a data engineer, NTT Data, which is a consultancy firm, other cloud providers, had been easy for me. I'm guessing through the academy projects. Yeah, because once you have the experience, once you know one cloud, the switching isn't super difficult. Do you recommend any specific course or certificate? Asking me this, Enrique, this is also always very difficult because, of course, I'm going to recommend my academy first. But the thing is, what my goal with the academy, the other way around. What isn't my goal with the academy is something like specific certifications on cloud platforms, for instance, right? So if you want to get really good at Azure and you're targeting companies that are using Azure and you may want to get a consultant job where you most likely need a certification for Azure, then it makes sense to go for these things, to go and do Azure certifications. But you would do them basically to have the sheet of paper and but also you would get a lot of knowledge from it. Because it goes very, very deep. And that makes sense. So if you, like, I did that before, back in the days when I wanted to get into Hadoop and I needed to be really good at that, I got a course. It was in-person course. And that really helped me back then. So it's that, I think that type of courses, the type of certificates, they have their use. For a beginner though, I don't know, not that much. Samples for resumes, no, I don't have them. Because these are private, right? The abbreviations again, DSA, what's that? Data Science Analytics? I have no idea, Mohammed. Here. Book it. In my last semester, I created a project on AWS ETL pipeline. Very, very good. Also from Hadoop. Very nice. But I'm still facing issues getting interview calls. Oh, I can't copy out your... Well, it's just one project, and it also depends on your CV. So it's not just one factor that you do one project and then you get all the interviews, and it's like, that's not it. So it's a more complicated issue here. CV, check your CV, try to polish your CV, try to do more than just one project. I think that's yeah. Are you going to save this video, Roland? Of course, this is going to live on my YouTube channel, Andreas Kretz. So, of course. Maybe we could check something. Okay. What would be a good roadmap for data engineers? SQL, Python, ETL tools, cloud. Should start with PySpark. Seems fine. Seems fine. I'm not sure which ETL tool you mean, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Job market in the UK, no idea. Well, how would you document the courses that you do? Within the courses, you learn something, right? And that knowledge from what you've learned, you want to apply this. So you would want to go out and would do a project about or with the knowledge that you've learned. And this way, for instance, with my courses, all of the courses for the tools and the platforms and basically, the fundamental tools, the projects and so on, has hands-on parts. So you could simply replicate this, or if you're doing another course, try to replicate what you've learned, try to apply what you've learned, and then document this. That's the trick. The best way to practice data engineering interviews, do data engineering interviews. That's the best way. Look into my interview with Piyush, where we were talking. He was like applying for jobs at Amazon, I don't know for how long, and very, very often, and it's the experience. It's also what he said, experience. For data engineer with AWS specialist, no. For a data engineer, which AWS specialty certification would you recommend first between big data specialty or no? It's is that something with big data? Analytics wouldn't be it. For an engineer, it should be something like big data. I would need to go. Let me quickly check. Let's quickly look at that. AWS certifications. No, that's all certification exams. Let's set this to English. Training and certification. You would most likely start with this here. Cloud practitioner, solutions architect, developer. Do they have something specific to data engineer? No, but I think cloud practitioner, solution architect, developer, these are the ones. So nothing with analytics. I wouldn't look at analytics. Yeah. I hope that helps. An overview of my academy. Well, so what I do in my academy is how this works is that for me, the most important thing is it's beginner friendly, right? So if you know Python and if you know relational databases, then that's somebody can start with that. It's absolutely no problem for that kind of person. And the idea for me is I have basically four sections: the basics, platform pipeline design, and I'm going to add something new here next or soon. Then fundamental tools and full example projects that are end to end. And that's my goal. So in the basics, what I basically do is the important part here is Python for data engineers, Docker fundamentals, and computer science fundamentals, also some parts that might be interesting for you if you want to freshen up on your SQL skills. But so the basics basically lay the foundation for the engineer. And then with platform pipeline design, you need that. And the same thing with choosing data stores and schema design for data stores, where that you understand, okay, how can I build a platform? What are the important parts of a platform? The important and the different parts, how do these different parts work? And then that you understand, because the data stores are super important, what kind of data stores are there? How's the data usually modeled in these data stores? Which data source should you choose for your use case? And then below here, I have then a few tools that you can learn. Where for me is, and if you know my cookbook, I talk in the cookbook first about my platform blueprint, and it's basically from left. No, let me see how is it here? From left to right for me is when I do it, it's complete other way. From left to right is you start with data integration. You start getting data in, for instance, through APIs, and then you look into processing, like something with Spark, and with data, with message queues, with data streaming like Kafka. Have some other, like could also use that on Databricks, store the data in MongoDB, for instance, then have something for your logs, log analysis. And next thing is also dbt, how you can then transform your data with an external tool, or Airflow for scheduling your work. So these are individual tools that you can learn, and you can then also apply because there are hands-on things. And then I have the example projects, and for instance, they sometimes use stuff that you learn over here. So the document streaming with Kafka, Spark, and MongoDB, that uses APIs, that uses Spark, that uses Kafka, MongoDB, and so on. AWS is a big example project here. That's more or less a big AWS course. Machine learning containerization, that's a mixture of AWS. No, that's on also on AWS. That's an added thing with containerization, with Docker containers on AWS. A complete Azure end-to-end project. This is a combination of AWS, what you've used before here, and GCP, storing, visualizing time series, like this kind, like Elasticsearch we had before, right? We had here Elasticsearch basics, and then you can use that for a project. That kind of a thing, that's for me. And these are usually a bit bigger than these here. And this way you can really use multiple, because these always have multiple parts, have always multiple tools to build pipelines, where these here are just on the left here, the fundamental tools are just single projects. I think so, and for that, basically that's the academy. Here you see again the structure and videos, like just like this here. I do videos, you have source codes. We have a Discord server where you can ask questions, where you get help. We've also, again, we can use the Discord server anytime. We're doing office hours every other week. So next week we're doing another office hour. Yeah. People are happy. I know we have 22 reviews now. Somebody wrote a review 19 hours ago. Here, look at that. I love that. Best course to learn data engineering. Thanks, Canvi. Yeah, that's the idea. For data engineering, there needs to have years. For data engineering, there need to have years of experience. The day before yesterday, I appeared for an interview, but the post is for experts. Well, okay. Give me an initial. Because the market expects for experience. Yeah, don't just don't just search for a data engineer in this. Try to find also other roles and look what a data engineer usually does. Look at the tools that a data engineer uses. Very often you find also other roles that are called other, that are named other roles, and which is like a beginner data engineer, or at least where you can then make the jump, another engineer job where you can later then with experience make the jump as a data engineer in 1 or 2 years. Let's say in 2 years, because then you can get the professional data engineer job, but only if the tools match. So look into that if the tools match. All right. Let's finish for today. It was fun talking to you. More streams are coming soon. I wanted to also test the equipment, if everything still works, if the connection is really good. And yeah. Thanks everybody for being here. We're going to see each other, I'm guessing tomorrow again. And have a good one. I'm going to look what I post now on LinkedIn after this.